That's me joining in the second place. Mute. And about to go on, and we're going live. There we go. I know, it's so annoying. Hey everyone, we're live, and I'm having a repeat of last time's session, which was fun. What's going on there? Just trying to invite Anne Michels in. Perhaps we could get Daniel and Simon to introduce themselves.
Who's first, right? Okay, yeah. So, hi, I'm Simon Denton. I'm the business architect with the global engineering company Mott MacDonald. I love data, right? Analytics is where you tell the stories from. It's what you kind of drive your adoption journeys from. Without data, you really don't have a lot of evidence. So, yeah, that's me.
Awesome. I am Daniel Glen. I am the collaboration practice leader for company InfoWorks, based in Tennessee, the United States. And I love data as well, but I am in the space of integrating that data with other tools in Office 365, so SharePoint being one of those, but all the other 365 tools as well. So happy to be here.
Awesome, and we have just managed to get Anne Michels on the call. Excellent. So Anne, perhaps you could just introduce yourself while I connect the YouTube stream to our lovely meeting here.
Of course. Hi, I'm Anne Michels. I'm the product marketing manager for Office 365 administration, and that also includes the usage report and the adoption content pack, which we'll be talking about today. So that's pretty much what I've been spending my last couple of weeks and even month on, is to get the content pack ready, get all our marketing messages ready, and work with our engineering partners to make sure that it really meets the needs of our customers. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to learn how you guys are using it already.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. I mean, I know that it has been a work in progress for some time. I remember some of these statistics were even mentioned and talked about even as far back as Chicago Ignite in 2015, when they were talking about replacing Yammer statistics with something using the content packs. It all coming to fruition now. So yeah, and
That's
just to introduce myself, now that I've managed to get things connected, I believe this is Daryl as a service, Daryl Webster, for regarding Office 365. So thank you all for joining us, and we're sort of 3 minutes past the hour. We've done our introductions. So we are looking today at the content pack, as Anne has said, the adoption content pack. There's been a Ask Me Anything session on the tech community, Microsoft tech community. We've had various different questions that have been dropped in there too, but it's really good to have you on. So I know this is using some Skype technology here. I think you can still use Skype for Business there. How about you go ahead and share your screen, Anne, while we begin to look at the content pack.
I'd love to.
And we'll fill the dead air there as we're talking to Daniel there. Hey Dan, I noticed that there was some questions following the AMA around the content pack, and people interested in how the data is brought together and how to use it. What's your experience been so far of the content pack?
Yeah, so there was a lot of questions around the data, how it's used, how you drill into it. Is it anonymous? Is it not? And it was very interesting to see that some were seemed to be questioning the need to see people, individual users in information, and then others were wanting to see that. So I think it's interesting how people want. There's different ways that people want to use the content pack and see the what's going on in their organization. My experience has been really the way I've been using it is to see how my organization is using the services, and I can see trends as to, like, when we do things like a lunch and learn and do some training on scheduling. For instance, I did one on scheduling meetings for Skype for business, and being able to see the uptick in usage for Skype for business. So that's how we've been using it, and it's already proven valuable for us.
Yeah, definitely. And we still have you there, don't we?
Yeah, I dropped, but I was able to rejoin the call.
Excellent. Okay, that's good. And if you manage to share your screen, doesn't look like we can. So maybe we'll just have to talk about some of this conceptually if we'll keep things moving along. So, the core, to tell us a little bit about the core reason for why we have the content pack, and maybe what we had beforehand to try and help us understand usage.
Yeah, so when you think about Office 365, right, when customers start to move Office 365, adoption is a really important topic that comes to top of mind of a lot of customers. The reason is, well, when you move to a cloud service, well, you pay for the cloud service either on a monthly or on a yearly basis, right? And so as a customer, you want to make sure that you're getting value out of that cloud service. And that is the case within Office 365 as well. And we really wanted to make sure that customers can understand how their end users are using and adopting Office 365 so that they can see how their end users are using the various services to be more collaborative and to be more and to communicate better. So about a year ago, we started on our journey to provide usage reports to customers worldwide. Because when you think about it, it's not only important for a customer to know how their users are using Office 365 to understand the value that they're getting out of the service, but it is also important for them to actually increase adoption. Because when you as a customer, when you move to Office 365, well, that is not only a big change for the IT department, but it is also a big change for your end users. Many end users aren't used to uploading documents to the cloud and sharing documents in the cloud. They're not used to using their laptop like we do it right now as a phone. And so very often end users need a little helping hand at the beginning to get started with Office 365. For example, if you have assigned a OneDrive license to somebody and that person isn't using OneDrive, that might be because that person doesn't know how to use it. They don't know how to get started. Or the other reason might be that they don't know why they should be using OneDrive, how OneDrive can actually help them to be more productive. So in both cases, you as an IT department, you might want to reach out to that person. But you can only do that if you know how your end users are using Office 365, and sometimes even more important, which of your end users do not use specific services yet. And to help our customers with that information, last year in March, we rolled out the Office 365 usage reports in the Admin Center that give customers a high-level overview of how their organization is using and adopting Office 365, that also provides them with information down to the individual end user level. But what we have heard from customers was that, well, the usage reports, they are a very good starting point, but many of our customers wanted to have more information. They wanted to really visualize and analyze the data. They wanted to understand how specific departments and locations are using Office 365. And what we heard a lot was also that they would like to understand how their users are using the entire suite of products. Because when you look in the usage reports in the Admin Center, they are product specific. So to help our customers with that, we decided to combine the data or the intelligence that we have in the usage reports with the visual and interactive analytics capabilities that we have in Power BI. And that's when we created the Adoption Content Pack in Power BI, which enables you as a customer to really visualize and analyze the data, to pivot by attributes such as location and department, so that you can really get targeted in your end user training and communication to help your end users on this journey and to help your organization on this journey to enable a truly modern workplace.
Now, Dan, you've had a bit of experience in Power BI and the like. So can you tell us, like, you've had a look at the preview of the adoption content packs?
Yes, yeah, I have. And I think I can echo what Anna was saying as far as being able to drill down is really seeing a graph is great, but when you have a graph and maybe a line graph or something showing usage of maybe Skype for Business, like I was saying before, or whatever, or email, that's great and it tells a part of a story. But having that interactive capabilities that Power BI gives you to be able to drill down into it and see and try to start seeing trends and getting more of a data story rather than just a snapshot is really important. So I think this is a leap. This is not the next step from analytics for the service. It's more of a leap, like I said, from a snapshot kind of into, okay, I can actually touch the data, rather than looking at it. That's the way I see it. Moving forward, it is. I do have some questions around. Power BI is moving away from content packs, so into apps. So how is that going to affect some of this preview, for the adoption content pack, but also others that are being published, and how that will play into the usage of the content pack. So, but as far as using it, it's been great.
So there was a question in there, wasn't there? So there is a move away from content packs, and I'm sure that Anne and her team have a plan. If there's something that you could share roadmap style around that, what are the plans around moving to a new model?
Yeah, so Power BI is moving to app model, which simply means that the kind of terminology and the idea of content packs as we have them today is going away, because the app model will be slightly different. We're still working actually with the team of how this will affect our content pack and how we will move content pack over to the app model. So I simply can't share much information yet because we don't have more information yet around this, but this is something that we are aware of course, and that we're actively working with the team to make sure that this will not have in any way a negative impact for our customers.
Yeah, of course. And, it is all about being able to make that data available to work with, to connect in via APIs. I understand that's another great advantage of being able to overlay your own data, perhaps usage around other products or other systems that your organization uses. Can you tell us a bit about the API side of the content packs?
Yeah, so this is actually one of the big advantages that the content pack also has over the usage reports, because you can customize them. Because what we hear from customers, well, no customer has the same questions or the same requirements as the other customer, right? Every customer has very specific needs around data and around the usage data, and very specific questions that they want to have an answer to. So we have made sure that you can modify and edit the content pack. The dashboard in the content pack and all the underlying reports, those are just starting points to enable our customers to quickly get started with the data in the content pack. But you can go ahead and use the content pack and edit it. And there are actually 3 ways how to do that. You can, on the one hand, if you connect, or if you're the person who has connected to the content pack, you will see a little edit icon at the top of the content pack. And when you click on that, you will be able to edit any of the visuals that we have created and modify them. For example, we have a visual that shows you how adoption has changed over time, and that shows you comparison of licensed users and active users and first-time users and month-over-month users. If you don't want to see the first-time users, you can simply remove that information from the chart. The second option is to create your own visuals and your own charts. What the content pack does is that it connects to a multidimensional API that gives you access to the whole set of data, to the whole data set that we have. So when you click on edit, you will actually see all the different data sets that are in the content pack. And this is really where the true power of the content pack comes in the underlying data sets, because you can use that information and create your own dashboards, to create your own visuals. You can create dashboards or a dashboard with reports that are not in the content pack today. And the third way is to connect to the content pack via Power BI Desktop. In that case, you can then also bring in additional data sources. So we have seen examples from a customer, for example, who wanted to combine the data in the content content pack with information about how much time their sales force spends on the road and how much time they actually drive to customers. That is data that they store in a separate database, and in Power BI Desktop they can bring that data together and compare it with the data that we have in the content pack.
I see that Simon was holding up his phone to show something there. Simon, is that an example of maybe the dashboard on your phone?
But yeah, that's one of the great things about it. You can actually get the data in your hand, which is really useful, because if someone asks you a question, they say, "Oh, but how are we using this?" And you say, "Well, you don't need to fumble around with getting their PC set up or going. Just show them your phone. You show them the data straight on your phone live, and it really, really makes a difference. I mean, we've cut a whole load of different reports, and we've mashed different products, not even Microsoft products, into our data set, so we can see how actually we're using different products together. So we've got graphs and how well it'll come through, if it'll do at all. We have graphs that are showing actually how we're consuming the competitor's product as well as Microsoft's one, and showing how the adoption of those two products are going together hand in hand to make us a more collaborative environment and collaborative company.
Well, and that's in the case of using what I've seen people using Power BI is they start using it, and then you start seeing the value, and then you do add-ons, and then you build out what you really need. So just I think that is the biggest benefit for using this content pack, or for it being released in this way, is that just as you were saying, you could take the items you're interested in from the usage data and then apply it with other data from other systems, whether that's on-prem, that's in the cloud, Microsoft or not, and really take that to the next level. Tell that data story of saying this is the correlation, and then how this all fits together.
Yeah, that is definitely.
Sorry, you go ahead.
Just want to say this is really, it's great to hear that you are already taking advantage of that, because that was really important for us when we built the content pack, to make sure that we also make the data available and the PBIT file, as well as that you can connect to the data through any ways that you prefer, right? Because we also have the APIs available, of course, because we want customers and also partners to build on top of the content pack. Because, of course, the content pack has a set of capabilities right now, but there is so much more that you can do with that data, and we want to enable folks to take advantage of that.
Yeah, now, just thinking on Simon's usage, he's got quite a story there too about how Mott MacDonald have rolled out Office 365, and I've heard some of those stories and some of the presentations you've done, Simon. It was really important to you as a company to understand how to address adoption and how data played a role in that. I see. I know once you start speaking, people will see in the background on your little whiteboard there that it's data plus usage stories. Yeah. So look, tell us a little about that journey and where data and perhaps early versions of the content pack help you.
Yeah, sure. So I guess being an engineering company, we always love numbers, and data is one of our key products, right? Be it in the form of a steel beam or a building or whatever. So when we entered Office 365, we always felt that we needed something that we could lean upon, and something that we can associate with really readily in terms of measuring our success and the way our journey was going. And naturally, data was one thing that we could really get to grips with. We could understand it. We understood that if a line went up like this, it's generally good, right? And if a line went down like this, it's generally bad. So it helped us formulate a plan that we could then go to leaders to say, actually, if we monitor this when we launch a product or say Yammer or something like that, and we see this, it's a good sign, right? Okay, and all you need to do is look at these straight lines. So we've always used data to kind of inform our journey. We started off a couple of years ago now, so we started off with mashups of spreadsheets and the bits out of SharePoint that we could get and the bits out of Yammer, and we started slamming it all together. We started cutting it into early versions of our own version of a content pack. It's like a precursor to that, where we have our started taking that data together. And then when the content pack came along, we realized we now had a really good sea of data. So we're involved in an early preview of it, almost a year ago, I guess. And we can start seeing this really informed layer of information. I kind of liken it to a big lake of data that allows us to work out how things are being used, to fish out the nuggets, so we can start telling stories around the data that people can then relate to, and they can start seeing the success or otherwise, and actually see a tangible aspect of adoption, because adoption is such a two-sided coin, right? So we've always used it. I mean, from launching an intranet, every single page is instrumented. We have a little JavaScript token that goes off, and then we aggregate all that up to our sites of knowledge management, where our knowledge leaders are desperate to know how they're using their sites. So things like the content pack really, really help that journey.
So is there a story that comes to mind where you've been able to combine data along with the usage story to talk about a recent success?
Yeah, sure. I think the easiest one to talk about is Yammer, right? Because Yammer gives I think some people think, well, what value we're getting from it. And so what we can do with data is we can show that if you put an effort here, say in running a Yam Jam, you'll see a spike in the data and you'll go up. And then you put effort in again, you'll see an immediate spike. You'll see how people have engaged and changed. And that's a really powerful message to people. Go, oh, has Yammer got a place? Should we use it? And the doubters, when they see that effort, and what they really like is you see the entry point where you put the effort in is generally lower than the exit point, right? So people have gotten really engaged and excited, and it's trailed off as naturally, say, a Yam Jam does. But actually the organisation leaves at a higher level of engagement than they did when they entered the process. So that's a really immediate sales benefit to us of using data and tools like Yammer.
So, Anne, I understand that you're using some of the statistics that are available to you to get into that. It's a bit about what an active user is, because to the likes of Simon and other organizations, we see these numbers and we see, okay, well, people have activated using OneDrive and they have installed Office Pro Plus, but what does it mean to be an active user rather than just someone who's licensed and logged in?
So how we define an active user actually depending on which service you look at, because the activities that you can perform in OneDrive versus Skype or versus email is, of course, very different. So for each of the services, we have defined what does activity actually mean. And when we think about activity, we think about activity that somebody has done by intent. So for example, when you look at Exchange, somebody is an active user in Exchange if they have sent an email or if they have read an email. If you just receive an email message, that does not make you an active user in our construct. Then when you look at OneDrive, anybody is an active user if you have performed the file activity. So if you have uploaded a document, if you have shared a document, if you have edited a document, synced a document, or deleted a document. And that activity, you can perform that either on your own OneDrive account or on the OneDrive account of somebody else. For example, if you share a document with me, and I edit the document on your OneDrive, well, that also makes me an active OneDrive user because I am taking advantage of OneDrive and I am using OneDrive. So I can actually be an active OneDrive user without uploading documents to my own OneDrive account, because we really want to show who is using the product and who is getting value out of the product.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's really circling around what does collaboration mean, doesn't it? Because it's not just about a place to dump your documents and sure, I'm using OneDrive, but am I co-authoring with someone? Am I accessing the document in someone else's drive? Little alarm bells go off for me there. I know I prefer to try and channel people through to a team site or a group for collaborative aspects, but it's certainly measuring that level. And perhaps that's the story you can begin to tell is, well, we can see a lot of people that are using OneDrive collaboratively down here. We've got the data to show. We can even drill down and see who or department or country. Let's try and focus our efforts on maybe some training or communications around. Let's start using the likes of a group, of a Yammer, of a team site as well.
Exactly. And we actually have some very interesting visuals in the content pack that help you to understand that area. So we have a visual that shows you how many of your users are active on their own OneDrive versus how many users are active on a OneDrive owned by somebody else. So in that report, I could actually show up twice because but I can also be active modifying a document on you. That report gives organizations use OneDrive just to store documents, or if they also use OneDrive to share documents and to collaborate with others on OneDrive on documents. And it really depends on what you want to use OneDrive for as an organization and where you are in terms of your digital transformation as an organization. We definitely see organizations that start with encouraging their end users to store their documents to OneDrive. And once that is kind of going on and once users are used to that, then they introduce the additional sharing and co-authoring capabilities to them.
Well, and I've seen the exact opposite happening where people are putting their personal documents in SharePoint. And so they'll have their own kind of personal team site. And so they're working in there and they're not using OneDrive. And we, in fact, at our local user group that I run, we had someone come in and talked about how their organization went to the cloud and then came back and why. And I won't debate here why the good points or the bad points of that. But one item was that they saw no usage of OneDrive. OneDrive was very, very small in the cloud. And so I think part of that was they had not evangelized it correctly, but also people were using SharePoint as the place to put all of their documents. So they either had them on their local machine or they were in SharePoint, rather than, differentiate between personal documents or small team documents and, big team documents and, organizational documents. It was just all in SharePoint. So having this, I think the content pack does help with that understanding of, well, we have a lot of usage in SharePoint. I mean, there's a ton of people using it and nobody's using OneDrive. Well, maybe we have some issue with governance, or maybe we have an issue with evangelizing. What is OneDrive? What are the benefits of using that for your personal files? So,
yeah, it's a good point, because actually what's right for one organization could be completely wrong for another. But you're getting. That's right. If you, as the organization, have seen the numbers that you want, I mean, I've got a killer number there, right?
Ooh,
okay,
I like that.
16,000 people,
wow.
percentage engaged, right? Awesome. But that works for me because actually if I looked at those numbers, a ton of those numbers are coming from Exchange, and that's where I want people to be at this current point in time. When I want them between SharePoint and Knowledge, I want to see those graphs shifting and changing, but that's what's right for me, my organization. For a different one, it could be very, very different.
I wonder if we're going to see organizational kind of Fitbit competitions where, look, my number's at 92 this week.
Well, you say that.
Yeah.
We've got some really competitive leaders in our company, and at one stage they did fight over their position on our Yammer leaderboard based on the analytics. So it can really draw out the best and perhaps not so good in some people.
Yeah, I can see some...
Yeah.
Potential for gamification there, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, we hear about the training scenario, the communication scenario, but gamification and getting departments and countries to compete around who's using their team site now, that'd be quite cool.
Well, and I've heard there's rumors that there's a certain very large organization based in Redmond that has their teams are using that same information to say, well, the people are using Teams now versus, no, they're using Yammer, and so I think any organization can start looking at that and actually use that to their benefit to say, there's this new thing, Teams, right? So maybe the uptick is there. Maybe another platform that they've been using for social collaboration is going down. So, okay, that's good. You can maybe see some correlation, but maybe overall social interaction is up. So that does it matter that something else is decreasing a little bit at the cost of something else? I mean, I think you can really look at that and tell the health of your organization as far as engaging one another and being social. And it doesn't have to be, well, one product usage is going down and one is going up. It can be just an overall. So, and then over time, will Teams usage, for instance, just in this, using an example, go down just because it's, not new anymore or something? I don't know. But I think this really helps us to get a handle on, instead of, guessing or, Sally, right outside my door is using X, so therefore it must be popular. We actually can see the numbers now.
Yeah, and it really helps you to understand by looking at it in that way, right? On the one hand, what type of communication and collaboration tools people like to use, what they prefer to use, and really then also how that has evolved over time. That is really interesting then when you compare that, for example, from department to department, because when you think about Office 365, it is a suite of products, right? And while for some teams and for some scenarios, Teams is the perfect tool to use, other people might prefer to continue to communicate with specific folks in the organization over email. And so you can really see how those behaviors have evolved over time. And also if you have specific departments that communicate and collaborate in a different way, because they might already be further along kind of in that digital journey, as we say. And though Teams is not in the content pack yet, we want to call that out. It is something that we are currently working on because I know a lot of our customers want to have information about the usage of Microsoft Teams. It is on our roadmap, and we are actively working on it.
I will say I selectively threw that in there just to make the point that it needs to be there.
Fully agree. I couldn't agree more. That's why we're working on it.
Yeah, so you do have, I think there's activity around Office 365 groups, and that is what Teams is built on. But like with many of these different things you're measuring, Teams is a usage of many different products all in one big banner. So we can see some challenges there and why it's taken a little bit longer. I do see that we've lost Simon there, and we're coming close to the end of the show. But I guess one question that I had that did come up in our user group recently around the content pack, Dan can probably relate to this. As a partner, as a Microsoft partner who's servicing customers, I can see partners are interested in being able to access the statistics, the data for each of their customers, and there's that need to be able to have like a single pane of glass and log in and see data from different customers in one kind of way of being able to switch between. What's the plans around that, or what can we currently do in Power BI to see different customers' data?
So currently, if you're a partner and you manage a customer, you manage the Office 365 service, and you're managing on their behalf, then you can connect to the content pack on their behalf as well and access their data. We currently do not have the single pane of glass that if you manage multiple customers that you can see kind of their information right next to each other. But this is something that we have frequently heard from customers, and we are currently exploring that with the partner team.
So that's the delegated admin access that as a partner I can be given permission to someone's tenant and I'm logging in as them.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. Right, well, we're around about time, and sadly, I can see Simon's had a few connection issues. These shows always feel like we need to go on longer, and I often get that comment from people we have on the show and people afterwards, oh, look, can we push it further than 30 minutes? The other thing I have in mind is that people watch these recordings too, and 30 minutes is around about the length of a sitcom. Not that we're comedians or anything, but an hour long,
on the weekends.
It's a big chunk of the day.
I think we can be that funny.
I don't expect people to sit down on the couch, whip on YouTube on their PlayStation or Xbox, and then watch a rerun of our shows. But thank you both for joining us, and thank you, Simon. Sure. I know that you're not here, but thanks on public. We've got a few people that have joined us too via Facebook Live, actually. So we had Noah Sparks there and Raywin too from New Zealand. So thank you both. And for those of you who have tuned in, if you've got additional questions, feel free to drop them in on that Facebook conversation. So we're at facebook.com/reoffice365. We've also pushed this out to our YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe there because we really want a decent URL rather than all the crazy letters. We need about 100 subscribers. And we'll see you again next time. Thank you very much for watching.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
This is about the time when we shuffle the papers and talk while I'm disconnecting things.
Oh, okay, gotcha. When you publish the recording, if you could share with folks, like if they have any best practices about how they're using the content pack, that would be great if they could share that. Because we are right now,